Pleasant day to everyone. So may this lecture find you well, and we are here again to talk about globalization in the contemporary world subject. So globalization and the Philippines. Uh, this is the moment where we will talk about how Philippines is participating in the global world, its impact in terms of trade, finance, and migration, and the Philippines has prominent participation already in the financial globalization and other aspects that the Philippines has been actively participating in. So let us review first what globalization is. So we have already talked that it's the process by which the world is becoming increasingly interconnected through trade, investment, and the exchange of information and culture. So having led to this great services, capital, people, and ideas across the national borders, we are getting closely related or closely connected with every other country's cultures and people around the world. Globalization, however, has both positive and negative impacts on countries like the Philippines. So we will be discussing what the positive impacts will be as well as the negative impacts. Now, the benefits of globalization, one of the positive impact of globalization is the access to new markets and investment opportunities. What do you mean by this? Access to new markets and investment opportunities gives us a chance to be able to get goods and services from around the world or anywhere outside the Philippines. And one example of these new markets is the online market, right? So we have the eBay, we have Lazada and Shopee, and we are even accessing eBay and other Temu from China. What else? And other what do you call this one? Investment opportunities. We also can participate in stock markets. We can also buy shares from international banks and businesses. Technology transfer and innovation is also one of the benefit of globalization for the Philippines. So, technology transfer and innovation, the presence of the BPOs or the call center jobs here in the Philippines. Exposure to diverse cultures and ideas also gives us liberation and freedom, uh, suppression, or what we call this one, other past na mga ano natin, na mga cultures and ideas has been expanding, right? Even our culture is already, and religion, okay? Religion is one of the cultures that has been greatly affected by, is part of the culture, ang ating pong relihiyon, and ideas, part po yan, ang religion. And we are being exposed to different religions and different cultures, different practices from around the world. And it changes our uh, present cultural development in the Philippines. Although there are benefits like, for example, exposure for MPC, we have a partnership with Singapore Polytechnic, right? And this gives us awareness of their culture, and also we exchange ideas from Singapore on how they do their community outreaches. So also the Singaporeans are learning from us ideas from and cultures in the Philippines, which they also integrate into their community outreaches. Also, another benefit of globalization for the Philippines is the increased remittances from overseas Filipino workers. And how do we benefit from that? Filipino workers or overseas Filipino workers send money to their families, and that money is earning taxes as well as pumapasok po siya sa ating financial aspect po ng ating government. And that money, when it goes to the bank, it's available to be rolled over, taxes are deducted from it. And so we have additional, what do we call this one? Funding for the government. And these OFWs usually have increased remittances are experienced during the Burr months or the Christmas season months. So Philippines has the earliest Christmas celebration in the world, starting from September, wherein we always wait for Jose Marichan to sing the first Christmas song for the Bear months. So starting from the Bear months, we notice that there's an increased flow of remittances from relatives around the world. And it comes into the Philippine economy. The families withdraw it from the bank, they earn interest, remittances will go and pass to the kasi bibilhin, mamimili yung mga pinapadalhan. And so, these goods are also like paying taxes. So, lalo pong kumikita ang ating bansa. So, improved competitiveness of Philippine products, services also is one of the benefits of globalization for the Philippines. So, Philippine products are sent outside of the Philippines. Even Marikina shoes are already part of the global economy. So, nagpa-participate na pong ating Marikina shoes in Parisian shows, Parisian events. So, mga French na mga ini-import pong Marikina shoes, even in US, and my father even from America, he brought home a good pair of leather shoes, and when I inspected the tag price, it was US dollar. But when I checked the tag or the brand of the shoes, it's made from Marikina. So it went all the way to America before I received it back here in the Philippines. So products and services po ay it include as usual, our professionals and who become OFWs and also our BPO system here in the Philippines locally. So these are services which gives us improved competitiveness. Nakikipaglaban po tayo. Pagdating po sa mga call centers na yan, kaagaw po natin ay mga Indiano here in Asia. So the Indians also have their own competition of call center agents na nagiging tulad natin dito sa Philippines. Now, challenges of globalization for the Philippines. Of course, kung meron pong advantage, meron namang disadvantages. So, it widens income inequality and social disparities among the third world country and the first world countries. In what way? So, para tayong sinasamantala ng ibang bansa. Kasi, kumbaga, imbis na hirap na tayo, lalo pa tayong pinapahirap kasi, kumbaga, sinasamantala yung ekonomiya natin. In what way? Materials, for example po yung mga materials. Raw materials are being produced in the Philippines. Then, what happens is that, pagdating sa pagdating ng ibang bansa, pag finished product na, sila na magpipresyo, sila na yung mag-i-import sa atin, and it becomes much more much more expensive compared to what was kaysa po sa before it was produced. So vulnerability to external economic shocks. Okay, kumbaga dahil sa globalization, one example of this external economic shock is the price of gasoline or petroleum products. 'Di ba? Kapag merong away sa oil producing countries, there's a war, apektado tayo. Kapag marami ang konsumo ng petroleum products in China, nagkakaroon tayong shortage. 'Di ba? Because umu-order sila ng mas marami. Gayon din po kapag winter sa Amerika, wow, eto rin po, affected din po tayo kasi in demand din ang mga petroleum products in the US. Parang kumbaga ganun yung hindi lang dahil sa ating personal na pangangailangan dito sa bansa natin, but we are also vulnerable or greatly affected by external economic shocks. So pressure on natural resources and environment is also one of the challenges of globalization. So later on, pag-uusapan natin anong pressure sa natural resources and environment. It can even be internal only. Kumbaga dito lang from Philippines, from one island to another, the pressure on natural resources and environment is very great. Is very obvious. Bakit? For example, lahat po ng gusto magtrabaho, they all come to Metro Manila to explore their chances of jobs and other things. So nandito yung pressure natin kasi lahat all want to go to Manila to find better jobs compared sa provinces. So ganun din po yan sa international environment. From the third world country, we want to explore, if we dream that great American dream noon in the 70s and 80s, lahat gustong pumunta ng Amerika, right? Because they want the natural resources and the environment of the US is they think it has a greener pasture. So, nandun po yung nagagalit na rin ng ibang Americans kasi marami ng Asians sa kanila. So, there's a possibility of ongoing pressure between the races in one country where many people have migrated. Hindi lang naman sila sa Asians galit, hindi lang naman sa Pilipino. Galit din sila sa mga Meksikano, sa mga Latino, 'di ba? So there's a scramble for more, there's a demand for the goods and services na kumbaga feeling ng mga Americans ay nawawala sa kanila dahil sa dami ng immigrants na pumupunta sa kanilang bansa and enjoying their natural resources and environment. So the fourth challenge that I'm going to discuss is the potential loss of cultural identity and traditional values. So even ang Philippines, 'di ba, dati from the time of Ibarra and Maria Clara na pinapanood natin teleserye, it has different, nakakatuwa kasi lumalabas yung mga cultural identity natin and traditional values sa mga ganung shows. Now, Ibarra and Maria Clara, to the modern times of Barbie Fortesa, di ba? Ano nga ba siya doon? I forget kung anong pangalan niya doon. But the differences can actually be seen from the modern woman to the time of Dr. Jose Rizal. So, mga traditional values natin ay nawawala na. Even ang pagmamano, kung minsan nawawala na, di ba? Even yung pag-greet sa teacher sa Japan. So, traditional values of Japan. Japan has declared itself to be a hermit kingdom. Ano po ba yung hermit kingdom noon? Ayaw nila ng mga dayuhan. Because ang mga dayuhan ay ayaw nila ma-influensyahan ng kanilang kultura. Okay? So, filial piety is one example. Sa US, they can call their parents by the first name. But here in the Philippines, you cannot call your parents by the first name, correct? So, you can only address them with respect and with total filial piety. Kumbaga, kinikilalan natin na ang mas nakatatanda sa atin, they deserve to be respected. So, we have the mano and pagmamano, the use of po and opo, greeting, and actually, nakakatuwa nga ngayon kasi maraming bitibit is practicing the bowing one. Right? In Indonesia, where I taught for 3 years, and I also became an OFW by that way, they are like using this bowing down. Yun po, tradition nila. They never lost. Or this one. They use that. And nakakatuwa po kasi, it's one of the cultural identity na pwede naman nating i-pass on na maganda, di ba? Pero may mga pangit pong cultural identities that we also practice na, kumbaga, it decreases our identity as Filipinos. So, yun nga, yung pagiging independent sobra from your parents. Even China is practicing filial piety. Hindi mo pwedeng ilagay sa nursing home ang yung parents. Your parents should be taken care of because your parents have taken care of you when you were also vulnerable. Diba? So, potential loss of cultural identity and traditional values. So, isa yun sa mga challenges. May mga jowa dyan na nag-influence sa kanila daw Australian culture, inculcating sa kanyang jowa na lalaki na they are already practicing the modern culture of other countries here in the Philippines. So medyo marami din, di ba, na tumataas ang kilay with the cultural value of independence, super independence from the youth of today. So I'm not questioning their belief or their traditions or how they want to express the values that they learned on their personal life, but I would like also to reinforce the common values that are being practiced by the Filipinos. But if you are pro-independence, it does not matter with me, with our opinions. So, meron na po tayo kasi pwede na tayong, we have the right to choose our own path and decide for ourselves. So, it's one of the values na na-inculcate din natin sa ibang bansa or from other cultures. So, concerns about job quality and worker exploitation. So, bakit siya naging challenge? Last example of challenges of globalization for the Philippines. Concerns regard about job quality and worker exploitation. So, doon, kumbaga, job quality, sabi niya sa isang American show. I don't know if you've seen it in the Facebook Reels, pero sabi ng isang nurse sa kapwa niyang nurse na American, you're not being careful with your job. Do you know that there are 200,000 Filipino nurses who are waiting for you to lose this job? And they are very good nurses because she's talking to her fellow nurse. So she said, kailangan galingan mo kasi ang kalaban mo, 200,000 Filipino nurses na pwedeng sumunggab dyan sa trabaho mo. So, job quality is being, kumbaga parang, nag-worry sila. Ito naman, nag-worry sila kasi tayo mga Pilipino magagaling daw, nagpo-produce ng magagaling na nurses. And some of our nurses are even doctors in the Philippines who studied in nursing profession para lang magkaroon ng nursing job in the US. So, concerns about job quality is also one of the example ng challenges sa ibang bansa. From the Philippines, ha. So, also, worker exploitation, ito naman yung nakakalungkot. Yung mga OFW natin na umuuwing chop-chop na or nasa kabaong na. And that's so sad dahil marami na ang nangyayaring ganun na hindi natin kayang iwasan. And hopefully, yun nga, there's a hiring freeze hiring pala sa Saudi Arabia for OFW na mga domestic helpers, right? I don't know kung if it's already been lifted. Kuwait also, kasi sa mga nangyaring kaso na ang ating mga kapwa Pilipino ay chinap-chap, nilagay sa freezer, or nilibing sa buhangin, di ba? Parang it's so sad because workers are exploited. Kasi ang hilig po natin magpadala ng mga OFW without proper training. One of the major causes po na bakit po nagkakaroon ng worker exploitation is number one, miscommunication. So lalo na po yung hindi marunong masyado mag-English, kapag hindi nila naintindihan yung amo nila, yan po nag-uumpisa ang pagkainis ng mga amo. So parang feeling nila hindi sila sinusunod, at the same time, parang hindi sila iniintindi. Pero ang pinaka-reason ay the OFWs are not properly trained, lalo na po sa language na kanilang dapat na matutuhan. So, Kung minsan kasi hindi lang halimbawa, Pilipino, hindi marunong mag-English, tapos yung amo hindi rin marunong mag-English, paano sila mag-communicate? So, lalo pong lumalala ang sitwasyon. So, mabuti lang kung mabait yung magiging amo nyo, but if not, medyo delikado ka rin, lalo na kapag you have cruel employees. Yung so, we hope that that through you, kayo, mga educated kayo, balang araw kung maging domestic helper man, if not maging teachers kayo sa ibang bansa, wala pong nakakahiya doon kung kayo man po ay maging domestic helper as long as you're bringing a good life to your family. Okay? So, hindi man kayo makatapos, for example, and I hope not. Sana matapos ninyo lahat. Wala po akong gustong mag-fail sa kanilang 4 years here in the BTV-10 course. Lahat kayo, gusto ko po kayong pumasa, makatapos, kumuha ng board, and become teachers, not just here in the Philippines, but proudly Marikina made teachers all over the world. So ako po, graduate din po ako ng Marikina Polytechnic College, yung Masters in Education. So, kaya I was able to teach abroad, di ba? Dahil sa qualification ko na yun. Si Marikina Polytechnic College lang din po nagbigay sa akin ng aking units in the CPE, Continuing Professional Education, because I was an AB History teacher, AB History graduate. So, meron ako po kaming konting units sa education, but I had to complete it through the CPE program, and it was also through MPC. So, who would say that a teacher from Marikina Polytechnic College, passing the licensed professional teacher in the Philippines, would be able to supervise Americans, Dutch, English, or British na mga teachers under me when I became the head of the history department of our school, our international school, Sampurna Academy in Medan, Indonesia. Diba? So, you won't be exploited kapag marunong po kayo sa tamang diskarte with the life abroad. So, be wise, not just knowledgeable, but also wise in your decisions to become global citizens in the future. Next one. The Philippines and globalization, and the Philippines has actively participated in the global economy since the 1980s. So, even in the time of the President Ferdinand Marcos Sr., Philippines is already participating in the global economy. Major drivers of globalization in the Philippines include, number one, liberalization of trade and investment policies. And number two, rapid growth of the services sector, especially the business processing outsourcing or the BPO industry. And three, increased migration of Filipino workers overseas. So, itong tatlong po ito ay pag-usapan. One is economic or trade liberalization. These policies or investment policies are being lessened by the government. Yung mga regulations and restrictions nila ay binabawasan. For example, on tariffs and quotas. Sa tariff, pag sinabi nating tariff, ito yung time kung saan ay mga taxes na binabayaran ang mga imported na mga goods na pumapasok sa Philippines. For example, rice tarification law. Diba? Na-discuss na po yan, naririnig na rin natin sa balita that rice is being reduced of taxes at saka paperworks or paper trail para hindi na po masyadong marami or malaki ang babayaran of those people who are importing the rice from other countries. So the lesser the taxes na ipapataw ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas sa mga imported rice na to na pumapasok sa atin, the lesser the price of the rice na lalabas sa Philippine market. So those imported rice, however, has its own disadvantage because sabi po dito on the third bullet, trade liberalization can benefit stronger economies but put weaker ones at a greater disadvantage. Sino po nadi-disadvantage dito sa rice tarification law? Di ba marami tayong naririnig na yung ibang politicians ay pinipigilan to because they believe that the business in the Philippines, especially of the northern part of the Philippines na nagpo-produce ng rice, mamamatay po yung industry ng ating local farmers. And these local farmers cannot compete with the prices of the imported rice na galing po sa ibang bansa. In what way? Kasi habang binibenta nila ng mas mura, hahabulin din po ng local farmers natin yung kanilang presyo. Pag hinabol po nila doon, hindi naman po bumababa yung presyo ng diesel na gagamitin po nila with their tractors and other machinery sa pag-produce ng bigas. And also, yung abono, pesticides, have additional taxes also here in the Philippines. So whatever they have put in as capital for the production of rice here in the Philippines, lugi pa po ang ating local farmers. So those rice tarification law, meron din nangyari po nung tumaas yung sugar in the sugar natin, di ba? Na nagkaroon po ng more than 100 pesos ang kilo ng isang kilo ng sugar. We also try to import sugar from other countries. However, yun nga, nangyayari, hanggang ngayon, nagiging issue pa rin ang mga bigas na nandun sa mga containers, sa mga ports, at hindi pa rin po nire-release yung mga imported na rice na yan, waiting for every market na naman na tumaas na naman ang price ng bigas. At saka lang nila, bibitawan na naman yan. So we know of different issues regarding tariffs and quotas. Sa quotas naman, there's only a specific number of ton or kilos or orders ng mga ipapasok po dito sa atin sa bansa natin. Sa economic liberalization nga, doon na we have fewer barriers na tinatatag. Like for example, isang office lang may bibigyan na approval, or they will only pay for Bureau of Customs na mga taxes, but the rest ay medyo kaluluwagan na. And liberalization is short for the removal of controls to encourage economic development. Yun nga lang, many countries have pursued and followed the path ng economic liberalization, including na po ang Philippines. So, usually, nagiging ano na rin to, in the local market naman natin, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga privatization. So, like for example, Meralco. Meralco used to be under President Marcos Sr. Meralco is a government-owned company. Pero afterwards, parang privatize ito at ngayon po ay Meralco is a private entity. So, ang nangyari po dun ay yung mga companies na mga to, sa kanila yung naging success in the economic part. Hindi na tayo masyadong makaprotesta because yung mga state-owned assets ngayon ay nagkaroon po ng private owners. So medyo doon din po ang disadvantage niya. But for the importation of goods, okay lang din naman, but the countries kung saan na kinukuhanan natin yung mga imported goods, sila lang yung nagkakaroon ng faster growing and developing economy. Tayo, nagiging stagnant. So, foreign capitals ang pumapasok dito at hindi po ang Philippines ang nag-a-advantage doon. Next one is additional info regarding trade liberalization. So, ito po yung mga example po natin ngayon ay yung mga e-commerce platform like Lazada, Shopee, and eBay. So, having fewer trade barriers like licenses, nagre-reduce po ito ng cost of the goods sold in importing countries. So, example niyan yung rice trade, poultry, di ba nag-order din tayo ng mga manok na imported, and meat, even meat, kung hindi daw po matapos ang problem with the ASF, the government is threatening to import meat also from other countries. So, trade liberalization can benefit the stronger economies nga, like the NAFTA. Ito, may example po dito, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement, or the NAFTA, which was signed in 1992 by Canada, Mexico, and United States. So, isang matinding example po ito, like Mexico, which is a weaker economy or weaker country when it comes to economy, and it has a very wide market kasi malaki po ang population ng Mexico. And US and Canada, they export goods to more market doon po sa, bali, sila yung nagsisend ng, Mexico is the buyer, ang labor kanila din, parang sa Philippines din yan, di ba? Papasok yung raw materials sa atin, or any third world country as it is. Yung third world country, sila yung nagpo-provide ng raw materials. And then the, the first world countries, sila yung maggagawa ng finished products, and then they sell it back to the third world country. So, ganyan na nangyayari din sa Mexico. But the North American Free Trade Agreement actually have the cycle of the economy na katapos sila po yung magkaka-partner, US, Canada, and Mexico. They are all neighboring, the continent, magkakatabi-tabi sila doon. So, medyo maganda yung kanilang trading. And one example din nga niyan products can travel all across the continent ng Mexico, US, and Canada, across the borders. So, kasi land, lang to sila parang land transpo pwede na sa kanila because US and Canada are just adjacent countries. So, ang US din at Mexico, nasa baba lang ng US ang Mexico. So, many countries nowadays, particularly those in the third world, are given no choice. Kumbaga, wala tayong choice but to import. Tulad natin, di ba? Kulang tayo ng bigas, anong gagawin? Titiisin na lang ba na maging 60, 70 ang kilo ng bigas? Hindi. So the government is making a choice na mag-import ng rice, but however, nandun din yung disadvantage na yung local farmers naman natin ang matatalo. Next one is, the second na point dito ng contribution of the Philippines in the global economy is the rapid growth of the services sector, especially the business process outsourcing industry. Ito yung mga BPO or the call center. So nowadays, one of the most highest paid employees are the call center agents. So nag-iiba-iba po yung kanilang what do you call this one? Nag-iiba-iba po yung sweldo nila. It depends on the experience that they can share or they can contribute to the call center industry. So, sa next slide mamaya, ipapakita ko kung ano yung mga highest paying na call centers here in the Philippines. So, when did the BPO or the business process outsourcing started here in the Philippines? So, medyo matagal na, 1990s, pumasok na po sila dito. Pero, yun nga, it became one of the highest paying jobs. Actually, parang kapantay lang to ng sweldo ng teachers in the public education system, ang ibang BPO. I myself was a call center for more than a year before po ako magbalik sa pagiging guro. But the BPO industry is subcontracting various businesses, or they are outsourcing people. Halimbawa, imbis na mag-hire sila ng Americans. Okay, business process outsourcing method is yung pagkokontrata nila dito ng various agents in the Philippines para lang mabawasan ang expenses nila sa kanilang pagbabayad din ng empleyado in the US. For example, one example of that is in United States, like doon po sa aking experience as a United Airlines ticketing agent when I was back in 2005 to 2007. So I was informed by one of the callers na I took away her job. She was like very angry and calling the agents randomly. So one of the calls came to me, and I got the call, and then she mentioned, "You Filipinos, you stole our jobs." And that's what she said. Kasi, nung sinabi niya yun, I was very conscious also. Bakit sinasabi niyang we stole their jobs? And then I did some research. And ang nangyayari pala, the basic salary in the United States at that time was $2,500. Sa ngayon, ang teacher doon ay nag-earn ng $4,500 and they say it's the basic daw nowadays. Pero back in 2005, $2,500 pala ang bayad sa bawat minimum minimum wage ng mga Americans. Now, when they outsource or they go to the Philippines and find agents, the $2,500 of the certain company ng United Airlines, ibabayad niya sa isang agent lang dun sa US. Pag dito sa Philippines, $500 is already a big amount for a call center agent here in the Philippines. Babayaran mo, makakakuha ka ng 5 agents out of the $2,500 na pinapasweldo mo sa isang American citizen na nagtatrabaho sa US. But when you outsource your business, dito mo dinalagay sa Philippines yung mga, dito kumukuha ng agents. And by the way, it's not only the Philippines who has access to the BPO outsourcing na to, yung business process outsourcing na to. Also India. So they have a lot of agents. If you watch Transformers, nasa Transformer nga, di ba, yung sumasagot sa, hindi ko na alam, part 1 yata yun, na when they were calling about the credit card and placing a long distance call, may agent doon na Indiano ang sumasagot. Because, how may I help you, di ba? So, doon po tayo sa, sa BPO industry, not only in the Philippines, but it also exists in India. So, parang yun ang pinaka-competition natin when it comes to BPO industry. So, when you, at that time, I was earning like 18,000 pesos. Napakalaking pera na po yan as a call center agent nung time na yon. So, ang 18,000 kung tutuusin, $500 sa nowadays is equivalent to 55 ang per dollar. An agent can earn as much as 27,500 isang call center agent dito sa Philippines sa $500 lang na ibibigay ng international business na to na kukuha ng Philippine agents. So dito sila lumilipat sa Philippines. Ngayon pa lalo, kung naging 4,000 na po ang minimum wage in the US, they can have 8 agents equivalent to 1 agent lamang dun sa US. So, kayo, usually, graduates or fresh graduates of our colleges, hindi lamang ng MPC, bago kumuha ng board exam, itong mga ating mga engineers, nurses, teachers, makikita mo sila lahat sa call center. So, habang naghihintay, they are spending their time in the call centers. And anyway, kapag license ka na nurse ngayon, you can earn as much as 150,000 ang sweldo. Meron pong mga naghahanap ng ganun. Dahil they can pay a nurse or a medical transcriptionist dito sa Philippines as much as 150,000 pesos per month. Even foreign language na mga, kapag ikaw ay fluent in a different language like French, Spanish, may iba pa basta pag mayroon kang international na foreign language na alam, mas mataas ang nagiging sweldo mo. Kasi meron silang specific grupo na mas binibigyan po ng ganung priority at binibigyan po ng magandang trade. So the top 5 BPO companies here according to employee package in the Philippines, meron po itong 5 to. Okay? But the one familiar with me is Sykes and Accenture kasi kapatid ko po ay napagtrabahuan niya ng isa kong kapatid at tapos yung panganay ko nag-part-time sa Accenture. So, these are the payments po at saka benefits na pinapakita dyan. So, they have paid holidays and vacation, life insurance, paid sick leave, may gym membership at hindi yan basta-bastang gym. They use Gold's Gym ba yan? Yung Gold Gym na yan. Paid drinks, unlimited pong coffee dyan sa mga call centers na yan. They have free-flowing coffees because their agents need to stay awake for the whole night or the entire night during their shifts. Tapos meron din po silang mga mga policies regarding sa clothes. So kahit ano lang yung suot mo, wala silang pakialam. So they also have training reimbursements and paid holidays and vacation, life insurance. So marami po silang mga binibigay na benefits. So meron din pong iba nagbibigay ng cellphone. So iba rice subsidy. So the BPO industry, kung nakikita ninyo dito, if you have less than 1 year experience, one of the call centers here, Genpact, na example na yan, 184,000 divided by ang annual nilang pasahod divided by 12 months, so 15,000 sa Genpact na to. 15,000 ang sweldo ng starting na mga call center agents if you have less than 1 year experience. But if you have more than 1 to 4 years na, iba naman yung bracket ng pagpapasweldo sa iyo ng HR. So example dyan ay 207,000 divided by 12 months, you have 17,000. Ito namang 5 to 9 years experience, 378,000. Paiba-iba po ang payment na ibibigay sa inyo, depende po sa experience nyo. So dito sa mga 5 years onwards, ang pinapasweldo nila ay more than 30,000, 31. Lalo na tong conjoint and sites, matataas pa po yan lalo kaysa dito sa Genpact. So if you can imagine, Accenture pays 485,000 per year annually. So how much is that for 12 months? You earn as much as 40,000 per month. So hindi na masama, di ba? So sa 10 to 19 years naman, doble dyan ang sweldo. You can earn as much as 80,000 for a 10 to 19 years experience in the call center industry. So ganun po ka boom ngayon ang industry. Some nurses, may mga kasama nga ako, licensed nurses, licensed teachers, but they opt to work in the call center kasi mas madali daw kesa magtrabaho sa hospital or sa school. So, doon kasi, pag answer mo ng calls, maya-maya, wala na pag umuwi ka. Unlike pagiging teacher, you will have take-home work. Diba? Kayong mga BTV-TED kong students, maintindihan nyo yan, na even at home, you have to do your lesson, mag-check, mag-prepare para kinabukasan, di ba? But in the call center, pag log-in mo, trabaho, after 8 hours, log out, wala nang itindihin. So, we don't blame young people na kaya pa rin magpuyat na to continue working in the call center, di ba? Kasi marami din naman talaga silang benefits lang. Eh, pagdating din sa life insurance at health insurance, it's already a big thing. Kasi anytime na magkasakit ka, libre, sagot nila, di ba? So you have paid sick leaves as well. Now, the Philippine government has already laws that support or strengthen the BPO industry. Di ba? Inayos na po yung ating, the Department of Information and Technology Act of 2015. They have universal access. Meron na tayong universal access to quality, affordable, reliable, and secure ICT services. So, kumbaga, meron na open na lahat. Hindi lamang smart. Dati, smart lang ang ating, what do we call this one? Provider. Diba? Then, we have Globe. We have under Globe, we have PM. We have under Smart, we have Sun and Talk and Text. Diba? So, naging open na po ang industry and access to ICT services. So, meron pong isa pa, the Data Privacy Act of 2012. So, this is the compliance with international data security standards to protect and preserve the integrity, security, and confidentiality of personal data collected by government and private entities in their operations. Kumbaga, nabigyan na tayo ng karapatan na pag-ingatan ng ating mga data na ini-enter natin into the ICT system. So, Republic Act number 7916, Special Economic Zone Act, also provided physical or areas wherein of real estate kung saan pwede pong magpatayo ang mga foreign investors ng BPO companies. Pero ayun nga, parang nangyari sa yung pogod ko sa Tarlac, meron silang special economic zone kung saan napatayo nila yung kanilang sariling building, but we did not know na yun pala magiging loob ng buildings na yun. But Special Economic Zone Act provides businesses or foreign investors to develop particular real estates para mapatayuan po ng kanilang investment for buildings and physical aspect po ng kanilang business dito sa Philippines. The other example is yung economic zone sa Zambales. That's also one example of the Special Economic Zone Act. Increased migration. Ito po yung third na po na participation of the Philippines in globalization. So, pinakasikat po yan or pinakamalaking bahagdan or part of our globalization is the increased migration of Filipino workers overseas or our OFWs. So when you say migration, this is the temporary or permanent movement of people from one place to another. And usually, there are many reasons why people move from one place to another. So reasons for migration, there are pull and push factors. Ano tinatawag yung pull? Yung naghihila sa kanila na lumipat. Ano naman yung push? Ito yung mga nagpapaalis sa kanila kung saan sila nakalagay. For example, sa push factor po are climatic disasters or the climate, ang farmer's life na mahirap, poverty, paghihirap, or war. Diba? Sa pull factors naman ay yung naghihila sa kanila sa kabila, number one ay healthcare, peaceful life, education, money, food, city life, and jobs. So, bakit ano pong mga examples nito? For example, sa healthcare. In Canada and the US, kapag nagkasakit ka, libre and very minimal lang ang iyong gagastusin. Even mga nakapo sa Canada, when you give birth in Canada, ang government pang magbibigay sa iyo ng allowance on the first year yata or the first few months ng iyong pag-aanak. And then, libre din po ang pag-aaral sa kanila, education. Money is, ito po yung mas malaki ang sweldo, di ba? So, in the US, ang teacher, ang sahod po ng teacher doon, yung mga kasama ko po, dati sa international school din sa Indonesia, ang sweldo po nila ngayon in the US is $4,500 ang pinakamababa. And $4,500 is equivalent to $247, $250 po in the 55 pa lang yon. 58 na po ngayon ang dollar. So they can have as much as they earn as much as $250 per month. Compare po dito sa Philippines, di ba wala pang 50,000 ang sweldo ng isang common teacher. Kapag ikaw nagturo sa ibang bansa, you will have 5 times or 7 times, 8 times ng sinasahod mo dito sa Philippines. So, healthcare, jobs, yun nga, sabi nga ng father ko, he cannot go back to the Philippines kasi US citizen din po ang tatay ko, and he cannot leave US kasi meron siyang aneurysm, meron siyang, marami siyang sakit sleep disc, pag dito daw siya umuwi sa Pilipinas, mamumulubi kami sa pagpapagamot sa kanya. While in the US, sagot po ng US government, dahil green card holder po siya, sagot po ng US government ang kanyang healthcare services. Even his nursing home, kung gusto niya mag-decide na mag-nursing home, pag-aagawan siya kasi binabayaran ng mga nursing homes doon para maalagaan ang mga matatanda na pensionado. So, food also, 'di ba? Kung sa probinsya ka, even in the local scenery lang, no? Farmer's life, ang hirap po ng buhay ng pagsasaka, hindi po basta-basta. Na-experience ko rin po yan dahil our area or the place where I grew up is also an agricultural area. Although lolo ko ang may-ari ng sakahan, we don't participate there. Yung bigas na lang, tumutulong kami magbilad ng mga palay. But we know that a farmer's life is not an easy life. So, medyo nag-o-opt yung mga tao to move to the city kasi mas maganda, di ba? Aircon, magagandang buildings, nandiyan na yung kailangan mo anytime, di ba? War is also one way of pushing people away from the place, di ba? So, tulad po nung mga nangyayari ngayon, di ba, sa Russia and Ukraine. So, war also displaces people to move from one place to another. Climatic disaster, yun lang example natin sa Mount Mayon. Every time na na nagbubuga ng usok or na umaalburuto ang Mayon volcano, di ba? The people 6 kilometer away from the even Taal ay pinapaalis po yung mga tao, ini-evacuate. So, napipilitan po silang umalis due to natural disasters. Okay, there are different types of migration. We have the internal and external. So, under the internal, di-discuss po natin ang urban to rural na migration. And then, we have the seasonal and the planned migration. Ito pong tatlong to, they belong to the internal migration. What about the international migration? There are two types naman of international migration. We have the voluntary and involuntary. We'll also talk about the legality of migration. What are the legal ways of migrating from one country to another, and what are the illegal means that this migration are being attained. So one of the most important reason or the main reason for this movement, the rural area cannot support the large and rapid population increase. Ito yung symptoms of rural overpopulation. Wala ng pagkain, kulang pagkain or reduced food supply, decreased job opportunities, di ba? Lalo na di ba sa Philippines, iba yung payment or minimum wage ng Metro Manila compared to the provincial rate, 'di ba? Nakakaloka nga yung isang vlog ng isang vlogger na nakita niya na tumawid lang siya ng ano nga ba 'to? ng ano nga ba 'to? Ng bridge. Tumawid lang siya ng bridge ng dalawang mall, iba na ang sweldo ng Santa Lucia at ng Robinson Metro East. So isang sorry for mentioning the stores, pero yun ang example po. Alam naman ng lahat yan. It's already published naman in the internet na iba po yung sweldo ng Pasig area at ng Cainta area. So, the significance of the address of such buildings ay nagkaiba na po ang minimum wage. Much more po sa probinsya. So, lalo-lalo na po in the province, we experienced din naman, when I got married, my husband started working because we already had our first baby. Syempre, nagtatrabaho na siya and he's also graduated na. Kaya, ang una niyang work is in a department store. Napakababa po ng minimum wage. And syempre, kapag ikaw ay nag-uumpisa pa lang, ang una mo talagang rank is the lowest rank po ng empleyado. So, minimum wage is not enough to feed a family of 3. Tatlo pa nga lang kami noon. Isa pa lang ginagatas. But it wasn't enough. So, we decided to move to Metro Manila. And Metro Manila offered him much better minimum wage compared to the province. As well as, hindi lang siya nakapagtrabaho, pati ako din nakapagtrabaho because of job opportunities na mas marami dito compared in the province. So, nandun din po ang worsened by farm mechanization. Ano po yun? Machines replace labor. Imbis na tao yung naggagawa ng farming, nagkakaroon na po ng machines. So, nandun na yung pagtanim, sa process ng pag-aararo, di ba? We use tractors. Also, sa gapas ng mga palay, may mga machines na rin na ginagamit. So, jobs are lost and rising joblessness is one of the reasons for internal migration, which is the rural-urban migration from the province to the city. So, rural to urban migration has impacts. Okay? Sa rural area, they become depopulated. So, kinukulang po ng magtatrabaho. Women take on greater share of farm work. Kasi si lalaki or si mister has a job offer sa halimbawa, sa construction lang eh. So, even in the construction business, kapag ikaw ay minimum wage worker, for example, sa 600 or 600 na minimum wage, but minimum wage in the Philippines nowadays is in Manila is 645. So 645 na po latest as of July 70 for non-agricultural sector or in the private business, and 608 for agricultural, service, or retail with 15 employees or less. So 608 ang minimum wage to 645 pesos. So if you are a construction worker, you can earn 645 if you're working for a big company. Yung mga farmer po sa probinsya, they opt to become construction workers or whatever kasi mas malaki yung kikitain nila. Aba, if you are a minimum wage worker for 26 days in a month, you earn as much as 16,770 per month. Eh kung farmer ka, you have to capitalize on the crops first. So ilang months yung hihintayin mo bago ka kumita. And sometimes kumikita lang sila ng 10,000 pesos. One of the interviews I had with a farmer in the rural area, aba 10,000 lang daw ang linis nila after paying all the pesticides, the abono, the seedlings, 'di ba? Ganun din po sa fisheries o yung palaisdaan. So palaisdaan naman yung sa Mr. ko na side, sa kanyang mother or sa mother-in-law ko. Ang naging experience po namin, namuhunan ka ng isda, namuhunan ka ng feeds, namuhunan ka ng mga tao mag-aayos ng palaisdaan mo. And in ilang months pa yon bago ma-harvest ang mga isda. And what happens is that in the end, after paying the employees na gumagawa dun sa fish pen, aba, ang kinita lang ng biyanan ko, she earned only like 10,000 pesos. After 3 months, na naging kanyang toka. After every 3 months kasi yun ang harvesting nila. And what happens is that 10,000 for every harvest, ilang harvest sila in 1 year, halos for 40,000. Sa minimum wage, if you are employing a person sa minimum wage lang, aba, pwede ka na mabuhay sa 16,000 per month. Although, yun nga, medyo gipit din niya. So, the second impact on the rural-urban migration is on the rural area is declining farm activity. Bakit po nagde-decline ang farm activity? Kasi may ibang option na pagkakakitaan ng mga tao. And even dahil sa marami na rin namimili ng mga di ba? Marami na rin malalaking companies ang namimili ng rural areas to develop them into subdivisions. Also, social problems are very rampant na rin sa probinsya. Bakit? Single-parent family ang nangyayari. So usually, the mothers left behind, the women left behind because the husband has to work somewhere else. Ganon din po kapag nag-abroad, right? Ang nanay ay nag-domestic helper sa Hong Kong, in a city or a country wherein they can afford to give you salary na nasa dollars. Syempre, single-parent family happens. So, nandun lang yung tatay may iwan or nanay may iwan sa mga bata. Next, impact on urban areas naman of internal migration. Widespread unemployment. Bakit? Pagdating dito, akala nyo makakalanding kayo agad ng trabaho. Hindi. So, depende pa yan sa qualification mo. So, kung iba, dinadala na dito agad ang pamilya. But some of us, nag-venture muna, di ba? So, katulad namin, we came from Iloilo. So, ako at ang anak ko nauna dito because my husband has to give notice sa kanyang pagre-resign sa kanyang unang work. So, nauna muna ako dito. And I was able to have to be employed sa isa pong it's a hardware exchange ng dati sa Santa Lucia. So, I became employed there. Nagtrabaho ako. Pero, hindi lahat ganun kapalad, di ba, na kapag nag-apply, makakahanap ka ng trabaho. So, rise of squatter settlements is also one impact on urban area. Kaya yung din pala, balik tayo dun sa widespread unemployment. Kapag ito nangyari naman sa international na aspect, so widespread unemployment, maraming nag-TTNT, di ba? So, tapos na yung visa nila, halimbawa, tourist visa ka lang sa isang country. Tapos, naghabol ka na magkaroon ng trabaho, hindi ka pa na-i-employ, hindi ka na hindi ka, tapos na yung stay mo dapat doon, number of days na stay mo doon sa country na yun. And what happens is that you hide away from the authorities para hindi ka mahuli, di ba? So, widespread unemployment. Then, next one is the rise of squatter settlements. Sino ba naman yung mga nagtatayo ng bahay sa mga lupa na hindi kanila? Karamihan doon ay they don't have a home of their own, except for the professional squatters na talagang nananadya, na trabaho na talaga nila yan mga braso ng mga bakanteng lote. But the rise of squatter settlements, even in Metro Manila, di ba? Pasig area lang, makita mo na yung mga nakatira sa mga tabi ng ilog, di ba? The government is trying to its best. Ito nga, wala na dati yan, riverbank. Sabutan ko pa yun in the early 90s. Marami pong bahay dyan. And then, dahil po sa modernization ni BF or ni Bayani Fernando, doon nag-umpisa na malbigyan po ng mga proper places po na kung saan pwede i-relocate ang mga squatter po ng Metro Manila o ng Marikina para mabigyan po ng way ang beautification and as well as disaster ng baha, makaiwas din at maayos ang mga ilog. Overcrowding and unhygienic living conditions is also one impact of urban migration. Bakit? Nagsisiksikan sa Metro Manila. Di ba sa probinsya every time we go home in Antipolo, ang Antipolo kasi medyo maluwag pa after na nandun kami sa matraffic na lugar, pag nakalabas na kami doon, iba na talaga ang hangin. Even if you put the window down on your vehicle, kapag nagsasakyan ka na naka-aircon ka, pwede mo nang ibaba yung bintana mo because the air is very clean at naaamoy mo talaga yung diferensya ng overcrowded places kumpara sa maluwag na mga lugar. So, strain on urban facilities. Ano pong example niyan? Pagpunta nyo lang ng Manila, di ba? Yung mga buildings doon, nakikita nyo yung smog. Di ba? Nakadikit na yung mga maiitim na usok sa mga bagong pinturang buildings. That's one of the strain on urban facilities na sa sobrang dami ng tao, sobrang dami ng sasakyan, so nasisira na po ang magagandang kalikasan or even the man-made structures are being damaged. Si CR lang, di ba? Hirap-hirap maghanap ng magandang CR when you are in a crowded place. Pero kapag nasa probinsya ka, nasa exclusive na mga subdivisions or malls, makikita mo medyo maayos naman. But ito yung hindi dinadayo ng maraming tao or sasakyan. There's also rising crime rates in urban area kapag mas maraming tao. Mas maraming tao, mas maraming nagugutom, mas maraming naghihirap, mas marami ang crime rate. Those are the impacts of rural and urban migration. Next one, seasonal migration. Ito yung sa second type natin ng migration. Internal migration. So, seasonal migration is also known as labor migration. It refers to the movement of people away from their homes to find a livelihood, usually temporarily. So, meron po tayong mga farmers na sa ibang bansa, yung farmers na malapit na silang mag-snow, doon kapag halimbawa sa ibabaw sila ng bundok nakatira, ibababa nila to lowland pastures. So, they move their herds, yung mga kanilang mga alagang kambing, baka, kabayo, yan, nililipat nila ito to where there is no snow at meron pong mabubuhay na mga grass. And what happens is that it's called a seasonal migration. So, internal migration can also be known as seasonal migration ang isa niyan. Apartheid system, the African slavery system was an example of seasonal migration. Kapag maraming cottons na iha-harvest in the US, yun, dami na naman bibili ng slaves. And habang marami ang nagdidemand ng slaves, ng African slaves na to, mas marami ang nanghuhuli ng mga ships at mga traders, human traders na yan, human kidnappers na yan in Africa, mas lalong tumitindi ang pagkikidnap nila ng mga Africans para i-ship to the US. Dahil sila yung mga binibenta, kumikita sila sa mga slaves. So, yeah, so it's one example. Now, isa naman dito sa Philippines, ang example natin yung mga Bajau of Mindanao, di ba? The Bajaus of Mindanao. Seasonal migration kasi pag Pasko nandito sila, di ba? So, then, the DSWD, parang naging ano na lang, parang naging excuse na nila na pumunta dito kasi alam naman nila na ang DSWD will provide them of a way back. Kung saan sila nanggaling, ibabalik naman sila doon. So parang naging uso na kapag months na, meron na namang sasakay sa ating mga sasakyan, magtatambol-tambol ng konti at magbibigay ng mga sobre sa atin, di ba? And we know that these badjaus, they are only usually appearing in the bare months, di ba? Pagkatapos ng bare months, may ilan-ilan dyan na matitira, but usually the herd of these people or sa dami nila, mga grupo nito, usually goes back to where they belong to. So that's called seasonal migration. So meron namang transmigration. Ano ba yung transmigration? Yung transfer to the same country, pero ibang lugar lang, ibang island, ililipat ka ni government. So transmigration in Indonesia is one example. So overpopulated islands of Indonesia, for example, sa Java, ililipat sila sa underpopulated na islands such as Maluku. So ito sa Jakarta kasi is the capital city of Indonesia. At dyan sila nagsisiksika ng mga tao kasi syempre, you know the reason why we tend to go to the bigger city, di ba? Bigger job opportunities as well as marami pong pagkakataon, marami pang iba na reasons, di ba? For food and security and health, di ba? So, it turns out that in some places in Indonesia, maluwag. Hindi siya overpopulated. It's even underpopulated. Yun nga lang, di ba? Pag tayo din dito sa Philippines, yung mga relocated squatters, usually they leave the places kung saan sila nilagyan ni government. Bakit? Kasi wala doon trabaho doon. Wala doon mabilhan ng pagkain. Magninegosyo ka nga, wala namang bibili. So naranasan din namin yan kasi we were one of the relocated na mga, yung side ng husband ko kasi, they were living in that area sa kung saan nakatayo ngayon yung Our Lady of Fatima University in Sumulong Highway. So, it was near Vitarich kasi workers sila ng Vitarich noon. Vitarich pumanukan yan dyan noon. And then, what happens is that ang employees, kanya-kanyang patayo around the Vitarich community. So, nangyari, later on, the poultry business was removed there, pero mga tao nandun pa rin, nakasettle. And then, a private owner came and yung nga, may-ari daw sila ng lote na yan, pinalayas yung side ng husband ko na yan, ng mga kapamilya, ng mga kapatid niya. And they were relocated to the Tansa somewhere in San Jose, kung saan naka-reside kami. San Jose, Barangay San Jose. And it's near Painaan, Buso-Buso. And paano po ba namin na-acquire yun? Kasi yung sister niya, who's supposed to have entitled dun sa isa sa mga lote, hindi po niya kinuha. She opted to go to Iloilo instead. Kasi nandun naman may kabuhayan naman sa dagat. Yung father-in-law ko, separated na tong sister-in-law ko with her husband. What happens is that she opted to stay in Iloilo instead of claiming the parcel of lot that the government gave her in the resettlement area. So, kinuha ng bunso nila, who is my husband, at yun ang inavail namin yung lugar na yun. We did not transfer there at once, kasi bakit? Mahirap pa po yung kalsada dyan noon. Ang kalsada dyan noon ay bato-bato lang ang kalsada. It's not even cemented pa. Pero ngayon, you can see, marami na po sa inyo nagbabike or nagmumotor papunta-pong Tanay. The road there is very developed. Wala kaming kuryente, wala kaming tubig, source of water. Our neighbors don't have their own toilets. Ang baho po kasi hindi pa nabibigyan ng tamang sistema. Wala pa pong local government na nag-aano sa resettlement namin, yung HOA namin, hindi pa nag-i-exist. Pero nung later on po, sa tiyaga naman, siguro mga after 5 years na napabalik-balik lang kami doon na hindi namin pinapabayaan at pinapagawa pa lang namin yung aming bahay. Nagka-develop naman ng roads, ngayon cemented ng mga roads, may Meralco na kami, may Nawasa na kami. But this situations, ang pag-uumpisa na to, they are usually government incentives, 'di ba? Yung libreng lote na 'yan. I mean not libre pero binabayaran namin siya at a very minimal cost sa mababang presyo. It's one of the government incentives to ease population pressures on certain places. Kaya ito naman ay tulad din dito sa Marikina, 'di ba? Lahat ng mga ni-remove by the riverside, binigyan din po ng relocation. Tama ba, ma'am? Relocation, no? In Rodriguez and San Mateo, right? So, yung mga national housing authorities na yan, binibigyan po ng government ng incentive yung mga people para magkaroon ng sariling bahay at lupa. And in that way, they eases that's called one of the transmigration within a certain place. So, lilipat ka nga, pero sa same place lang or same country. That's called transmigration. Next one. We have the types naman ng voluntary and involuntary migration. Paano naman po nangyayari ang involuntary migration? So, involuntary migration is the movement of people caused by events which force them to move against their will. Kumbaga, kahit ayaw nila, napipilitan silang lumipat. Ano po yung mga reasons nun? So, involuntary migration usually, ang tawag dito sa mga tao dito ay refugees. So, refugees are persons who, owing to well-founded fear of persecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, or political opinions, are outside of their country of origin and cannot, or owing to such fear, do not wish to avail themselves of the protection of that country. So, international migration is called also international migration of such forced evacuation is called involuntary migration. So, sila yung mga examples ko dito. For example, ay unfavorable social or political conditions. Ito yung tulad ng mga South Vietnamese na tumakas po sa Vietnam and went to Canada and USA. North and South Korea. So, crash landing on you is an example of North and South Korea involuntary migration, di ba? Kumbaga, dahil iba yung iyong paniniwala, you seek refuge sa South Korea. Kasi halimbawa, isa kang isa kang very important person in Russia. Merong nangyari yan eh. She was an athlete, or a ballet dancer, a cultural dancer in Russia. But then, gusto niyang umalis na sa Russia. When she performed in the US, nagpatulong siya sa US government to become a refugee. And the US government protected her from the Russians. And doon na siya nakatira sa American. And they gave her the right to stay in the US. So another example is migration of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs to Britain in 1950s when Pakistan and India became separated countries. So sila yung mga kumbaga naguluhan sila kung saan sila uuwi. So Britain has opened its doors in the 1950s para po matulungan tong mga refugees na po, Hindus, Muslims, and the Sikhs. So I think it's something to do with religion kasi na-mention yung Hinduism, Islam, and Sikhism. So in the involuntary migration causes, number one, unfavorable social conditions. Ano po yung social conditions? It has something to do with the way they live. Social conditions, usually yung tao sa tao to eh. For example, persecution and civil wars. Okay? So civil wars, kapag ayaw mo naman sumali sa gulo, hindi lumipat ka na lang ng bansa. Unfavorable environmental conditions such as droughts and floods. So marami na pong lumipat na Antipolo from Marikina. Marami na pong mga taga Marikina ang nagtatanong ng mga lupa po sa Antipolo and purchasing lots there in Antipolo kasi alam nila nakakaiwas sila sa floods. Droughts naman, sa isang lugar na wala namang makain because of drought like Africa, so marami din ang nag-o-opt na mag-umalis ng Africa. Diba? Kung may choice ka lang naman, bakit hindi? The effects are refugees cause economic strain in host countries. So nakikita natin yung ibang refugees nilalagyan ng camp, di ba? Doon lang kayo sa camp na yan. And life in the camp is not easy. Para ka lang nasa evacuation center na kapag ikay nabahaan or nasunugan. Ganun ang buhay po sa refugee camps. So there's unrest also in there as the refugees refuse to go home. Ang bansa na ang host country na pinuntahan ng mga refugees, halos ayaw na rin silang kupkupin, pero wala silang choice. Kasi nga, kailangan kailangan nilang magstay, ayaw din nilang bumalik. Pero itong country naman na nilipatan nila, ayaw din silang papasukin ng tuloy-tuloy. So, meron pong racial conflicts, merong unrest, merong nagdidepend na lang feeling ng mga host countries na to or the developed countries, nagdidepend na lang sa pamimamalimos ng mga refugees. They also have locked up barricaded detention in the camps. Parang preso ka rin. And refugees who return face integration problems. Parang pagbalik nila doon naman sa kanila, kapag nag-off naman silang bumalik, sure ka na hindi ka spiha. Di ba? You're not a spy. You were not sent back here. Gusto mo doon, di ba? They were persecuted also for returning home. So living conditions in refugee camps are at best subsistence and nothing more. They become permanent features usually sa mga magazines and news. Now, voluntary migration naman, ito medyo okay. Movement of people by choice or one's own free will. Reasons given for such movement is quite similar to reasons for rural-urban migration. So international migration, which is voluntary migration, as an example, bakit sila lumilipat sa ibang country? Lower living cost, di ba? Medyo mas maganda yung, like for example, when I was living in Indonesia, ang 2,000, ang isang tali ng sitaw is only 2,000 rupiah. Ang 2,000 rupiah is equivalent to 6 pesos lang, di ba? Sa atin, times 3. So, sa 6 pesos na yun na sitaw, pwede ko na po yun kainin mag-isa ng 2 araw. So, lower living cost or lower cost of living in other places also encourages people to migrate. Bakit mo tinanggap yung trabaho yun? Bakit nakapunta din yung anak ko at ang husband ko doon? Because, mas mamura lang po kasi ang lahat ng mga cost of living. Even the Grab car doon, mura lang po siya. Hindi po tulad dito na from here to Quezon City, you pay 300 pesos plus. Pero doon, 100 plus lang. Tapos, ang sine doon, every week we go to the cinema. Bakit? 100 pesos na equivalent ng cinema. Ano na yun ha? Balcony na yun. I mean, special, sa taas na. Diba? So, more relaxed and less stressful lifestyle also contributes to people wishing to migrate from one place to another. Higher income and better lifestyle as well. Better recognition of their talents and skills in international migration. Bakit po better recognition of their talents and skills? Diba? Pinabayaran ka na mas malaki for whatever you're doing in the Philippines. They pay you 5 times. Ang teachers natin na magagaling dito, they pay 5 times, 10 times sa sweldo po dito sa mga teachers sa Pilipinas. Even our engineers, our nurses. Ang nurses dito sa Philippines, pagpalagay natin, they enjoy the same salary grade as the teacher kapag sa government hospital ka. Bakit ka naman magtsatsaga dito? The lowest na you can earn in the US is $250. 50,000 pesos a month. Kumpara sa pabayad sa'yo dito, starting mo na 25,000. That's 10 times kung ano man ang kikitain mo dito sa Pilipinas in every month. Diba? Sino naman ang hindi maiinggan yung lumipat or to have volunteer migration. Access mo yan. So, the impact of international migration are the following: ethnic and congregation. Nagkakaroon ng little Chinatowns at little Indias sa mga foreign land. Filipino community also, they have their own distinct places. Sa Hong Kong lang, di ba? Pag Sunday, makikita nyo yung gathering ng mga workers na, mga OFW na nasa Hong Kong. Makikita mo sila in a certain place. Sa Hello, Love, Goodbye na movie, makikita kung nag-gather sila and they do They share same Filipino food, may mga programs sila, may mga activities sila that showcases the Filipinos na nandun talaga sa lugar na yun. Right? So, even in Singapore, every Sunday, sa nanay ko kasi dati, she was a domestic helper in Singapore for 4 years. And what happened is that every Sunday, when I brought her to Singapore to celebrate her 65th birthday yata yun, pa-birthday ko sa kanya, I brought her to Singapore as a tourist for 1 week. So what happens was that she was recalling her life as a domestic helper in Singapore. She was teary-eyed when she remembered the places kung saan sila nagtatambay ng mga kapwa niyan DH pag Sunday. Saan siya namimili? She brought me where she bought all the chocolates and the parang divisoria ng mga Pilipino doon sa Singapore. Dinala niya ako doon kung saan siya namimili ng mga chocolates na pinapadala sa amin, yung mga damit na I love Singapore, kung saan siya nag-uukay-ukay ng mga imported na bags and shoes na pinapadala sa amin noon. So, even the person serving us at the time was a Filipina. Sabi niya, wow, sana ma'am, balang araw ako, yung mga anak ko mapatapos ko rin. Tapos sila din na magdadala sa akin dito bilang turista na. So, it's one of the things na may nagkakaroon po ng ethnic congregation sa bawat lugar. So, we have your Filipino community everywhere in the world. Kung hindi lang po yung Little Chinatowns na napapatayo doon, Little Indias. Dito rin, di ba, meron tayong Chinatown. I don't know where the Little India is in the Philippines. But in Singapore, makikita mo rin yung lugar ng mga Indiano. Makikita mo rin yung mga sa Chinese. So, nandun po, nagkakaroon tayo ng ethnic congregation. So, poor quality houses or housing is also one of the impact ng voluntary migration. Bakit poor quality housing? Yun nga, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, example of squatter settlements, kapag hindi ka pa maka-afford ng mamahaling bahay, di ba? So, kahit pangit pa yung matirhan mo, babayaran mo, ay susunggaban mo kasi yun lang ang kaya. Ay, yun. One example of that one was sa Singapore, meron kasing mga dorm. So, makikita mo po, nung nag-stay muna ako ng Singapore kasi gusto kong igala yung sarili ko. First time ko nagpunta ng Singapore, I stayed there ng passing through kasi galing Indonesia, dapat mag-stop over ka ng Singapore. So, dinap ko yung opportunity na yon, nag-book ako ng connecting flight ko for the next 5 days pa. So, I stayed in a dorm. Tapos, yung mga nakilala din akong Pilipino. So, doon po sa dorm na binook ko, meron akong bed space. And I noticed that for other, kasi 6 yung beds, ang 4 na beds doon ay may mga kortina at may mga gamit, may mga maleta. Yun pala mga Pilipino din. Itong may-ari na Indiano nung dorm na yun, ay nilagay ako sa are you Filipino? Yes, I am. Ngayon, nilagay niya rin ako sa kapwa Pilipino. Kasi kung makakasama mo mga Pakistano or mga Indiana or mga Pakistano, mga babae din, ang makakasama mo sa kwarto, iba yung amoy nila, diba? Iba yung Pilipino eh. So, yung mga Pilipino, malilinis ang Pilipino when it comes to hygiene, right? So, pag ibang lahi yung kasama mo sa doon, medyo mapapahamak ka rin. Sa Malaysia, nangyari sa akin yan eh. Muslim ang babae, pero hindi siya, maganda yung babae. Pero yung kasama niyang lalaki, naka-Muslim dress talaga yung babae, ganda. Pero yung kanyang kasama, kaibigan niya lang, they were both college students na lalaki. Kasi mixed dorm yung nakuha namin. Pwede lalaki, pwede babae. Pero may CR yan sa labas na pang babae at pang lalaki. Iba din yung bathroom. Pero yun nga, sa dorm nyo, sa loob, pwedeng iba-ibang gender at iba-ibang lahi ang kasama mo sa dorm. So, I was like touring the Kuala Lumpur, yung Twin Towers nila. So, yun ang pinuntahan ko ng time na yun to see it. Like, I spent overnight lang, isang gabi lang, para lang makita ko siya sa gabi at makita ko siya sa umaga. And then, yun nga, sa poor housing quality, makikita mo na magsisiksikan kayo dyan, pagtsatsagaan mo, kasi yun lang para sa mga foreigners. Also, language difficulty could be a barrier. barrier din, di ba? Hindi lahat ng Pilipino marunong mag-Ingles, di ba? So, kahit karamihan ng mga domestic helpers, ang kanilang mga nagiging kapahamakan is because they don't know how to communicate with their amo. Hindi nila naiintindihan kung anong inuutos ng amo, kaya itong amo, pag nainis, akala tatanga-tanga ang Pilipino, yun ang nagiging sanhi na nabubugbog, nasasaktan sila. Pero kapag marunong kang magsalita, marunong kang kaso kung ang amo mismo hindi rin marunong mag-English, ayun, isa na naman problema din yun. So there's language difficulty. There is also racial tensions, di ba? Kasi, for example, in Saudi Arabia, ang mga DH nila kailangan nakabalot din, tulad ng the way they dress. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-shorts o mag-sleeveless sa bahay ng mga amo mo, na balot yung amo mong babae at amo mong lalaki. There are racial tensions when it happens. Kasi hindi nila, ang kultura mo iba, kultura nila iba. So when in Rome, do what the Romans do. That's the basic na motto dapat ng mga Pilipino. Kung anong ginagawa nilang normal doon, ikaw ang makibagay. Hindi pwedeng sila ang mag-adjust sa'yo, ikaw ang mag-adjust sa kanila. So brain drain also happens to voluntary migration because the best of the teachers, the best of our nurses, the best of our doctors, they all go to higher paying jobs or countries kung saan mas babayaran sila na akma sa kanilang pangangailangan or more than what they need. So, brain drain happens when all our best professionals move to the first world countries at they leave the third world country na walang ano. Diba? Sino nang iiwan po sa mga hospitals natin karamihan, lalo sa private? Ang naiiwan po dyan, yung mga hindi pa pumapasa sa board, di ba? Or, kung nakapasa man sa board, they are just waiting for their chance na makaalis. Or, yung talagang ayaw umalis ng Philippines. Yung wala talagang balak na umalis ng Pilipinas. But, kapag may chance, ang ating professionals, mas gustuhin natin na magtrabaho sa ibang bansa because our talents are recognized better there. We are given more opportunities to earn not just economically but to develop professionally as well. Diba? So, mas marami sila tayong chances kapag nasa ibang bansa tayo na binibigay sa atin. Kaya hindi rin tayo mabiblame. Now, the legality and the migration has also legal and illegal aspects. Dito tayo sa legal migration. Legal migration occurs when individuals move to one country following the rules and regulations. So kapag sumusunod ka sa batas, sa lahat ng pangangailangan nila, lahat ng hinahanap sa iyo, binigay mo, ang requirements na hinahanap, you are qualified to work or to live there, yan, legal ang pagpasok mo. Common forms include work visas. Kung gusto mo magtrabaho, kailangan mag-acquire ka ng work visa. Anyway, class, regarding visa, kapag dito ka sa Southeast Asia, tourist visa is available for the next 30 days. Meron na tayong, meron tayong kasunduan with all the Southeast Asian countries na you can stay as a tourist for first 30 days. Hindi ka na kailangang kumuha ng visa. And what happens is that when you go on the 31st na, at hindi ka pa nag-e-exit ng country nila, you will be tagged as an illegal foreigner in their country. Dapat, before the 30 days visa-free stay na binibigay sa atin, aalis na po tayo doon. So we have the work visa, the student visa, and family reunification. So work visa is given to you kapag ikaw ay magtatrabaho. So work visa is either 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years, depende yan. Usually yearly ang pag-renew po ng work visa. Or some of us, contractual. Kung 2 years yung contract mo, 2 years din ang work visa. Tulad po nangyari sa akin yung first contract ko po ay 2 years. Then, second contract po ay 1 year lang. So, student visas are given to those who want to stay in a country at mag-aaral. Okay? So, mag-aaral sila. Canada is offering student visa. Germany, lahat yan. New Zealand, Australia, meron din pong student visa. But you have to prove na kaya mong mag-aral. You have the money, you have the resources, and you give the intention na mag-aaral ka lang talaga. Pero in the end, yung iba, ginagamit ng student visa, makasama yung parents nila. Family reunification. So ako estudyante, ako halimbawa sa Australia, and I want my parents to follow me. And nakita naman ng government ng Australia that you have the funds, may milyones ka naman, kaya nyo naman, in the bank, kaya nyo naman mabuhay na kayo. Pero in the end, yung parents mo, mag-apply din ng work visa dahil may nag-alok sa kanila ng trabaho and they are qualified to work there. So, ganun po, nagagamit din po yan as a way na maka-legal migration ka. Family reunification is also in that eksena or in that scene. Tulad po ng sinabi ko, student ka doon, pero you want your parents to also join you in Australia. All you have to do is request for family reunification. And kapag nakita naman ng immigration officers na nakakaya mo ng embassy ng country na gusto mong dalhin ng parents mo, kaya ninyo financially, hindi kayo magiging burden sa kanila, o nakita naman na professionals din yung mga parents nyo at mapapakinabangan din ang bansa nila, then chances are you will be approved or your family will be approved na lumipat kayo lahat doon sa bansa nyo. Legal migrants often have rights and protections under the host country's law. Kapag ikaw ay legally, you entered the country, may protection ganyan, hindi ka po mapapahamak. Pero kapag illegal ang iyong pagpasok, nasa iyo po lahat ng problema. Pero kapag ikaw ay legal migrant, you have every rights and protection ng host country. Lalo na po kapag naging permanent resident ka. For example, in Canada, after 3 to 5 years yata, you will be, pag doon ka nagtrabaho at napakinabangan ka ng gobyerno nila and they find that you are a good citizen, a good person or a good citizen under the working visa or student visa, nakita nila na okay ka naman, wala kang record, magandang trabaho mo, naka-acquire ka na ng bahay in such a short time, dahil maayos mo pinapatakbo yung personal mong buhay, chances are you will be given the invitation to become a permanent citizen. Diba? So, US, I don't know about the US regulations nowadays, pero yun nga, kapag i-allokin ka rin ng green card, green card nila. The green card is given to permanent American citizens. You will have 2 citizenships. Pwede ka na Filipino, pwede ka na rin American, so dual citizenship. Ang tawag dyan. Next is economic opportunities for legal migrants seeking better job prospects. So, meron kayong chance na maghanap ng trabaho at hindi kayo tago ng tago. So, what else? Education, pursuing higher education or specialized training, family reunification, joining family members already in the host country. Then, illegal migration. Ito naman pong pag-uusapan natin. Nakikita niyo po yung map. So, these are the routes wherein migrants are smuggled in all regions of the world. So, we have by air, by land, or by sea. So, kung nakikita niyo yung mga arrow, parang totoo naman, di ba? Those from India, napupunta sa Philippines. The arrow points to us. In real life naman talaga natin, di ba? Marami ditong Indians na mga Bombay na nagpapautang. And not all of them are legal migrants. Some of them entered the country illegally. Kaya, yung may na nagpapautang dun sa probinsya sa amin, nasagasaan ng yung husband ng aking pamangkin. What happened is that, kinulong po talaga siya. Kasi, wala siyang papers na ipapakita na siya ay legal migrant. So, nagpapautang, kumikita na ng 10 taon sa probinsya doon. Kasi may mga tindahan siya doon na mga pinapautang. And, nung nasagasaan niya yung husband ng pamangkin ko, they were asking for legality ng documents niya. Kung saan siya nakatira, kung ano yung citizenship niya. Of course, we will have to ask them. Ngayon, nakita ng police na wala siyang proper documentation. So, they held him in the prison. Kinulong talaga siya. Kasi, unless, ito nga, mabait pa nga sila na kapag na-settle na daw yung mga bibigyan siya ng chance na ayusin yung kanyang papers. And kasi kilala na siya ng lahat and everybody thought he was like a legal migrant. Yung pala ay illegal siya. So, when you are illegal migrant, immigrant, yan nga, you are overstaying your visa or you just cross the borders without permission. Ayan, dito pinapakita from Asia na pupunta ng Europe. From Europe, actually, lahat yan nagpo-point out to Europe. From Africa, tumatawid din. And then, Mexican border to the US. US to Brazil. Ang mga Latino din, papunta din ng pataas, papunta din ng US. So there are many illegal migrants who often face significant risk because of lack of legal protection. So kapag ikaw ay tumawid sa border ng Mexico to the US, may tendency na barilin ka dyan because there are patrols in the border. Ngayon, nire-risk nila yan. Tatakbuhin nila yung long span na yan ng boundary ng Mexico at ng US. Marami na pong kwento yan. Marami na pong pelikula na pinifeature yung ganyang nangyayari. Because of the Mexicans want to escape the bad economy of Mexico and to seek for greener pastures. Marami pong Mexicans ang lumulusot sa border ng US and Mexico. And nangyayari po, marami po na-persecute din dyan. So, dito rin sa Southeast Asia, marami din bumababa. If you can see the arrow, going to Australia because Australia is a first world country. So, marami, di ba, sa iba sa atin, may mga kapitbahay tayong mga construction workers, engineers, di ba, nakukuha po in Australia because, yun nga, kulang sila ng skilled workers. And what's good is, ito sa inyo. Yeah, usually, the BIT products that we have, automotive, yan. Ano pa? Welding, yan po ang mga mabili po sa Australia and New Zealand. At sila po yung mga kita nyo yung arrow from Southeast Asia going down to Australia and to the neighboring countries. So, makikita nyo natin. Then, next one, reasons for illegal migration, escape from conflict or persecution, seeking safety from violence. So, tulad nga po pag nasa, North Korea, gusto mo syempre lumipat ng South kasi mas wala masyadong conflict doon. Walang army na magbabantay sa iyo every time you do something wrong. Bawal sa communist country. Economic hardship, desperation for better living conditions, di ba? Kung mahirap ang buhay sa Pilipinas, ay gusto ko po mag-abroad para po mapabuti ang kondisyon ng aming buhay. Diba? Sino ba naman ang hindi nangangarap na pagandahin ang ating living conditions? All of us have dreams of having our own house, or having our own vehicles or sasakyan, di ba? Lahat tayo. So, lack of legal pathway also is a reason for illegal migration. Limited ang options natin ng pag-apply for legal migration. Ano po yung mga naglilimit sa atin dyan? Usually, yung hindi kulang ka ng training or skills na hinahanap nila. It's hindi ka rin na-approve for legal migration. Diba? We have also like resources. Karamihan kasi ng kinukuha nilang mag-tourist kasi if you are given a tourist visa of like 3 months, within 3 months dapat nakakahanap ka na ng trabaho doon. Pero paano ka naman ma-approve as tourist kasi wala ka namang pera sa bangko and you cannot afford to become a tourist dahil nakikita nila, mahirap lang to, bakit magtuturista to? So, they will not allow, kahit nasa airport ka na Kung nakita ng immigration officer na wala kang means to come back in the Philippines after ng pagtutur mo, hindi ka nila approve. Hindi ka nila tatatakan yung they won't let you even board the plane even if you have the ticket na, you have everything that you need. Pero pagdating ng airport, ang immigration officer mismo, hindi ka pa sasakayin ng eroplano. So, tornada na yung legal migration mo. Magiging illegal ka na kasi maghahanap ka na ng way to go to that country na hindi pala tamang paraan. Now, migration difficulties. Kapag ikaw naman nandun, ito naman yung makakasulubong ng mga problema. Physical barriers. Ano yung physical barriers? Usually, ano to yun nga, iba yung trato sa iyo. For example lang sa racial discrimination. Iba yung lugar ng babahayan ng mga ibang lahi kaysa mga puti talaga. Like for example, in US daw, sabi ng tatay ko, iba yung area na tinitirhan ng mga black sa sa Chicago. So iba yung mga lugar naman ng mga whites. Parang yung mga subdivision nila usually caters to the black, or one area caters to the white person, or one area dito naman yung mga slums ng mga black. So there are physical barriers. Immigration policies, yun, iba-iba din po ang policy ng bawat bansa. So you can easily enter one country, pero sa isa mas pahihirapan ka. Tulad sa Pilipinas, di ba? The Chinese visitors can easily enter Philippines, samantalang tayo, hirap na hirap tayo mag-apply ng visa sa kanila. Di ba? Pero sila, US, ang mga Amerikano na yan, anytime they can stay here in the Philippines, pero tayo hindi. Hindi tayo halos welcome sa bansa nila. So, lack of capital naman pwede rin, yung pamumuhunan mo personally sa iyong paglipat sa kabila. Travel cost, ticket lang, mahal na, di ba? If we cannot afford it, diba? Hindi din tayo makaka-migrate. Illiteracy, yun nga, sinasabi ko kanina sa inyo, mahirap ding magpunta ng ibang bansa na hindi ka nag-aral. Diba? That's why, kapag kayo pinapag-essay or pinagsasagot ng English, huwag nyo sasabihin na pinahihirapan kayo ng teachers nyo. We are developing you to become global citizens. So that one day, when you go to a different country, you have the universal language, which is English. Kahit saan kayo batong parte ng mundo, English is a universal language. Kahit magpunta ng outer space, kahit sino yung mga tao nandun na nagtatrabaho sa outer space, ginagamit pa rin po ang English as a common language all over the world. So if you plan to become a global citizen, matuto ka na mag-English. Ngayon palang Englishin mo na si ma'am, kahit mali, kahit English, kahit Tagalog tanong sa'yo, Englishin mo ang sagot mo. Matutuwa po ka. So, illiteracy can be one of the migration difficulties. Pag interview pa lang sa'yo sa embassy, kapag hindi ka marunong mag-English, wala na, di ba? Send lang na. So, military service, migration difficulties in military service. Hindi ka rin basta-basta makakapasok dun, di ba? Unless you become an American citizen, hindi ka makakapasok sa military service nila. Ito think so. Even the Philippines, di ba? Hindi mo tayo kumukuha ng foreigners, di ba? In the military service, because we know that it is very exclusive to Filipino citizens. Kasi pag pinapasukan mo ng ibang lahi, syempre, malay mo, ispiha yan. Okay, language can become, illiteracy and language comes hand in hand. And family, family presence. Okay, baka presence yan. So, family presence, kapag mag-isa ka, di ba, homesickness is also one big migration difficulty. That's my reason for returning back home to the Philippines and opting to work here in the Philippines kesa sa abroad po magtrabaho, because family presence is very important for me. Hindi ko naman sila madala doon dahil wala pong trabaho for my husband there. Only teaching profession ang nandun. Pag driver kasi, dito kasi, doon kasi wala kasing work dun for Filipinos na maganda, maliban kung accountant ka. Accountants and teachers ang ina-accept talaga sa Indonesia. So, hindi ko naman siya pwedeng ilagay sa skilled workers kasi skilled workers nila does not pay as much as foreign range ng sweldo. So, medyo mababa din ang skilled workers. So, family presence is one also of the migration difficulties na hinaharap po ng mga OFWs. So kapag ikaw lumipat sa ibang bansa at hindi mo madalang pamilya mo, it can also become a problem. Pero kapag dala mo yung pamilya mo, then medyo okay na rin yun. So migration is a common phenomenon because the world is already shrinking. Diba? Lumiliit ang bansa. ang isang bansa, the other country is just a plane away. 'Di ba? Tulad natin, hindi na natin kailangan mag-apply ng visa papuntang Singapore. If you want to see the Universal Studios in Singapore or the Disneyland in Hong Kong, all you have to do is purchase a ticket, buy a round-trip ticket, and kumuha ng hotel na may stayhan mo. Yun lang naman itatanong sa iyo sa immigration. The world is already shrinking. Kung may pera ka lang, madali pong mag-hop into a plane and be in another country in just a matter of few hours. Or kung gusto mo, may mga countries din na konti na lang yung boundaries and barriers, because country boundaries and barriers no longer restrict people movement. So as much as possible, if you are qualified, if you are capable financially, the world is becoming a global village na lang, and you a global citizen. So napakadali na lang patalon-talon sa iba't ibang bansa. Okay? So when I was given the chance, I've been to 6 Southeast Asian countries already, nang walang ka-effort, di ba? Nakita mo na yung iba't ibang bansa sa Southeast Asia, and natataka na yung passport mo ng 6 na bansa. That's enough already. You can call Southeast Asia as your global village na. Kasi nag-jump mo na kung saan-saan ka na napunta. And if Southeast Asia is open for a person like me, I think for younger generations like you, mas malaki pa po magiging chance nyo. Especially sa technical skills na ina-acquire nyo dito po sa MPC, I think that would be your gateway. Yan po yung kapital nyo, yung puhunan ninyo sa inyong pagiging global citizen one day. And I will be looking forward na mangyari po yun sa buhay ng bawat isa sa inyo. So the future of the Philippines in a globalized world is that we must continue to adapt and leverage the opportunities of globalization. We continue to develop a skilled and innovative workforce which will be key to world competition. So, tulad nga, di ba, sa Olympics natin, marami na tayong mga winners and champions all over the world. And we are developing people also with skills and workforce na magiging tanyag sa iba't ibang parte ng mundo. We also maintain a unique cultural identity while engaging with the global community. And ito po ay nagpa-represent sa atin ng delicate challenge. But with all the right strategies and proper trainings, I know the Filipinos can thrive anywhere in the world. And you will be one of those persons someday. So thank you so much for giving the time to listen to my lecture. I know almost 1 hour and 45 minutes ito. The longest one that I have shared with all my students. Pero ang dami ko pong gustong i-share sa ito pong chapter na to. And natutuwa po ako if you have come to this end point ng lecture natin. I hope you listen well at may natutunan po kayo. Further questions will be entertained, and I have this last slide as more probing questions which we can discuss face-to-face. How do you identify legal and illegal job recruiters? Kasi ito po yung pinaka-basic na nagiging tanong po ng students ko in my previous classes. And what would be your options in the future as a global citizens? Ano ba yung open sa inyo? Ano ba yung magiging personal na atake po sa inyo ng pagiging global citizen? I will be asking that for you in the face-to-face Gmeet kasi or face-to-face or online meeting natin para po ma-discuss natin isa-isa kung paano po ninyo paano po kayo maliliwanagan ng inyong mga katanungan, kasi alam ko po marami po kayong magiging tanong in those 2 questions. Now for your assignment, it will be attached in your GCR. You have to interview an OFW about his or her life in another country sa following aspects. Number 1, sa kanyang job or career progression. Number 2, in his or her living condition sa country kung saan siya. Excuse me. Number 3, immigration policies of the country they migrated to. Kung alam nila po yun, malamang naman siguro you will be interviewing somebody mature and have years of experience already. And number 4, their personal ideas or advices they want to share with you. So that would be your week-long assignment, which will be, further instructions will be given to you in your GCR or Google Classroom. So thank you so much for listening, and hope to meet you all in the face-to-face or GMeet uh, discussion of these probing questions. Thank you and good day.